And we are live on World of Pets podcast. We have a very special guest tonight, Dr. Kelly. Goodness gracious, I'm already tongue tied. Kelly Barrett, and with my wonderful host here, Anthony, the greatest Anthony on the planet, by the way. I'm changing his name. But we have a very special topic tonight. So we're going to talk about the end of life with pets and how that affects people. So, Anthony, would you take us off, and then we're going to turn it over to our very special guest tonight.
Absolutely. Our guest tonight is Dr. Kelly Barrett. Dr. Barrett is here in Southern Arizona. She is the founder and owner of Kindred Spirits Pet Services, which is a local family owned company that provides compassionate and loving end of life care for you and your pet by honoring the unique bond between you and your loved one. They offer home euthanasia services as well as an eco friendly alternative to traditional flame cremation called aquamation. They were the first company in Arizona to provide this gentle and natural aftercare service. They also offer the euthanasia services in their office. They have two quiet and private comfort rooms. Dr. Barrett offers quality of life consultations and pet loss grief support. Dr. Barrett created Kindred Spirits around the philosophy that pets deserve respectful and gentle care in their final journey of life. She's from Nebraska and completed her veterinary degree at Iowa State University. Dr. Barrett has worked with various clinical settings, including animal shelters, private practice, and nonprofit organizations, providing veterinary services in underserved areas. She has lived in Tucson, Arizona, so help her God. For more than 14 years and enjoys time with her husband, two children, and their rescue dogs, Rue and Quill. And I say that because I live in Tucson, and it's so hot here that Satan fled back to hell to get some relief. Anyway, Dr. Barrett, what's that?
I said it's hot.
Yeah. Dr. Barrett specializes in the end of life care and is certified in the CAETA, which is Compassion Animal Euthanasia Training Academy, trained in gentle and advanced euthanasia techniques as a certified peaceful euthanasia veterinarian. She also has multiple certificates in low stress handling and human animal bond, and pet loss and grief support. Pet loss and grief support. Dr. Barrett is also a certified hospice and palliative care veterinarian through a lot of initials and services on their board of directors, as well as serving as the secretary of the board. She trained under Dr. Alan Wolfelt with the Center for Loss and Life Transitions to earn the Death and Grief Study Certificate. The certificate is awarded after completion of 150 hours over 5 courses in bereavement care and companioning mourners. Companioning mourners. Dr. Barrett continues to learn from Dr. Wolfelt through additional training courses, and that is why I asked for the bio early. Anyway, thank you for being here.
Of course.
Dr. Barrett, we are glad to have you today. All that stuff that was mentioned there, we'll just segue off of that. Anything you want to tell us about yourself or your practice before we kick this thing off?
I guess I'm just very honored to help the families. I know they're dealing with a very difficult time, and I'm coming on their hardest days, but I'm very privileged and honored to help them, and I get to feel all the love that people have for their pets, and it's very special. So I'm glad to be here and can answer any questions that you have of what you think that people would be interested in knowing.
Fantastic.
As a veterinarian, how did you come to the conclusion that end of life service is where you wanted your focus to be for pets?
Well, when I was in vet school, I wanted to be a shelter veterinarian. So that's how I came to be here in Tucson. I worked at the Humane Society of Southern Arizona. But just as life happens and things change, I actually went through some loss of some very special human people. And I actually heard someone talk at a conference about doing home euthanasia. And there was something that was calling to me that I kept in the back of my head. And then as I lost a few more important people in my life, I said, I'm really honored that they could, pass at home. And I feel like we should have that for our pets too. So then I created Kindred Spirits, and that's kind of it in a nutshell. But yeah.
That's amazing, because I've actually experienced the in-home euthanasia, not for myself, but with a friend that asked me to be there with him. And so I think that was a really healing process, not only because it happened at home, but because he invited, close friends over to be a part of it. What's your experience with that in-home euthanasia that kind of separates it from, say, hey, it's just time to take our dog to the vet and put him down?
Mm-hmm. I think it's so much less stressful for the pet. They're able to be around not only their family, if there's other pets that are in the household, you know, children, anything. I had one family that I helped recently that her dog loved to swim, and so we actually I helped them outside, and the dog took a last swim right before I helped her pass. So you can really make it a unique and tailored experience to the family in having it at home. And again, not only is it less stressful for the pet, but I think it's less stressful for the humans because they don't have to, make that drive and have that feeling sometimes in a vet clinic where it's so sterile and there's puppies getting vaccinated right next in the next room. So I think that's another advantage of being able to do it at home.
Now, in your clinic, do you offer traditional veterinarian services as well, or solely the end of life care?
I solely am end of life care. Starting with, some families come to me and they want to know like when it's time. And so I'll do a quality of life consultation with them, give them some tools and tips of what things to look for, kind of assess the patient. It's never a perfect time, you know, but you want to try to help your pet before you get to that emergency situation where it's in the middle of the night or a weekend and you're rushing them to an emergency clinic either. So, but no, I no longer do, vaccines or surgeries or anything, but just end of life care.
Okay, cool. And your clinic is called Kindred Spirits?
Correct.
Okay, cool. What side of Tucson are you on?
I am right off of I-10 in Prince.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know the area.
Mm.
I know the area. Well, I live here in Tucson. I'm over in Rita Ranch.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I drive up to an hour away. So last week I was in Arizona City. I'll go up to an hour away from my office. So being able to help families that in some of the smaller communities that don't have vet clinics, or they have less vet clinics, to be able to help them, or they live out in the, out on a farm somewhere. I use the word farm loosely, being in Arizona, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I get it. I get it. Now, all this training you've gone through, Is that in addition to veterinary school, or when you're in veterinary school, kind of like law or medicine, are there certain avenues that you can take to study certain things? So, for example, when you're in medical school, you can study neurosciences, you can study pediatrics, you can study things like that. Is this
Uh-huh.
a available course in veterinary school, or is it something you have to do in addition to veterinary school?
It was an addition. Will be honest with you, I did not perform a euthanasia while I was in vet school. So my first day working at the Humane Society, um, the technician brought me a pet that needed to be euthanized, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I've never done this. So I really had to go out and seek the education um, to really hone in on this particular um, you know subject, I guess, of veterinary school, because it's the end of life. They might have mentioned it in a class one time, but it's not the focus. The main focus in vet school is curing and diagnosing and things like that. So but shouldn't you've spent all this time with this precious life, and shouldn't they be honored with a good passing? So I think as a veterinary like community, we need to do better. And now, 14-15 years since I got out of school, there's more opportunities for learning, which is great.
Now, in your practice, are you looking more at either terminal illness or old age? Is there a different ratio, or what's the
Don't be
main
rude.
focus or extent?
Yeah, it's mostly geriatric, but I do see, younger pets, if they have, some sort of terminal illness like cancer. Unfortunately, I see a lot of different types of cancers. Um, but yeah, I would say those are the two main areas, but mostly, they're older senior geriatric pets that I'm helping. And I strictly help dogs and cats.
So you don't deal with any larger animals, no horses or burros
I
or any
do
of that stuff.
I do not even though I grew up in Nebraska, I did not grow up on a farm, so I wasn't
You're a corn
exposed
husker.
to the large animals. I am a corn husker, yeah.
So is Larry the Cable Guy. Get her done. So,
Yeah. My grandmother was born in the same town where he lives in Nebraska.
well,
So
that's more.
I have family that like know who he is, and yeah.
Well, that's cool. What is it he says? That's more frustrating than the legless Ethiopian watching a donut roll down a hill.
He has lots of quotes, yeah.
When I
Do
was in
you?
Iraq, he and the other three guys on the Blue Collar Comedy Tour actually came through on a USAO tour to Baghdad. So I got to meet them and hear them, and
Oh wow, that's amazing.
that was pretty cool. They came through. So did WWE. But anyway,
Well,
yes,
well,
the Larry the Cable Guys from up there. What's that, David?
I said the big question is, did he install your cable and did it work?
No, his jokes are good though.
They are good.
I like his one about he was like living in Tulsa, Oklahoma or something. He said, and so I'm watching an episode of Cops live on my front porch. He's like, he's
Oh,
like an episode of Cops. So tell us about Rue and Quill, your rescue dogs.
yes. So, Rue, that's a great story about Rue. So, at the time, I worked at the Humane Society, and I was spaying a cat, and they were getting the next patient ready for me. And one of the techs was like, Dr. B, I don't think this dog is breathing. So I jumped over, and yes, in fact, the puppy was no longer breathing. So CPR was not being successful, and they're looking at me with these eyes like, aren't you going to save this puppy? And so I literally took epinephrine and right in the heart, and the Pulp Fiction moment, and she was like, she came back, and I decided I was going to bring her home. She was a shelter puppy. And I was going to bring her home to watch her overnight. And I drove home, and I got there, and my husband looks at the puppy, and he says, "I think this dog is not doing well." And I looked at it, and I was like, "Oh, turn around." I took her to a emergency clinic, and long story short, she ended up coming home with us as a foster, and then we failed terribly, but she's been a blessing. She's 12 and a half now. So I love her to pieces, and glad that I could successfully save her.
What breed is she?
She is a shepherd mix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Australian or German?
Oh, German shepherd. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
She's about 45 pounds. So she's got, a smaller mix in her, but yeah.
Yeah. My
And
dog
then,
right at the cutoff, according to our vet. She's right where the small dog and the medium dog intersect. So my dog is a medium.
A medium. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Now, what about
And then,
Quill? Did she get that name because she got mixed up with like a porcupine or a cactus or something?
No. So, I recently had to go through end of life with unexpectedly our cat passed away, and I did not help her. We just found her, and she had passed. And so I was very devastated about the loss of her. And about a week or two later, someone dumped a puppy at my office right in front. And so that's Quill. No one claimed her. So I decided that we were going to keep her. And her name is Quill because my favorite actor is Chris Pratt. And I loved him in Parks and Rec. But my son's name is Andy, so I couldn't name her Andy. And so she's named after Peter Quill from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Very nice.
Okay.
So that's why she's Quill. No porcupines.
Well, that's a positive note. So in the venture with going back to your rescue dog, I'm just curious, from the time that you did the epinephrine and that you adopted your dog, what was that process actually like? Bringing a dog back to life and then raising your. And how many years has that been, actually?
So she was about 3 months old when she died and came back to life. It was pretty much all afternoon we were watching her, but she actually, her heart started beating before she actually started breathing. And time frame, it probably was a good 20 minutes. So there was probably some oxygen lost to the brain. So we didn't bring her home right away. She went to the emergency clinic. She came back to the shelter. She actually had 2 siblings. And one of my associate vets, she was the one who spayed them. And they actually went to the mall store. Park Place used to have a Humane Society rescue adoption center. And I guess she was running into things and she was seeing things that weren't there. And so the director of the shelter called me and said, "Hey, I think there's something wrong with this dog. And I know you had brought her back to life. Could you take her home and monitor her for a while?" And then, then she came home, and she was probably about 4.5 months at the time. And she'll be 13 in December. So yeah.
Well, you've done well, and having the first puppy of my 2 dogs, Peyton, born blind in one eye and pretty much couldn't see out of the other. I have experience, in raising a special puppy, but after that 4 years to this point, what is that experience like? Is she able to play fetch and is she able to obey commands, or what's that like? Is she just lethargic
Oh,
or?
I mean, she's been pretty normal. She never had really good like depth perception. So no, she was never able to like catch. Um, we did training with her so she can do the basics, like, sit and lay down, and she can shake hands. She just couldn't, yeah, you couldn't throw a frisbee or even throw a piece of popcorn at her. She wouldn't be able to catch it. But
I can
I mean,
relate to that one. I only got one eye too, so.
oh,
Well, if you throw popcorn at me, I'm not sure I'm catching it either.
Hold on, I
so
got a
Why?
bag.
I'll try
Let me
really
get-
hard.
I get a bag right here.
I'll try.
So end of life. Let me just give two examples. Since we're at dead air, Anthony, if you want to come up with future questions, but I'm going to go back to Peyton's dad, Dookie Doo, as I called him. Lived a pretty good life up to 13. He was a dachshund, long haired. Got him from a breeder, but he had dew claws, so we knew he was a little bit inbred. But he lived a really good life, but he wasn't as active as most dachshunds are. He was pretty lazy, and by the time he reached about 12 and a half, he started to be a little bit lethargic, started to bloat a little bit. And then, he used to go to work with me, him and Peyton. But one day, he couldn't, he stopped following me um, through the warehouse. And normally he'd just trace my tracks the whole time. And so I took him across to the vet, literally right across the street. And they're like, well, he has a rare blood disease. And so you need to make a decision right now. And so that was traumatic for me, but I had his son, Peyton, and with me. And so we both sat there and I had to hold him up and look him in the eyes and the whole 9 yards. So that was traumatic to me as a dog owner that had a sudden instance in that. What's your experience with other pet owners that have had to have a sudden um, removal of their, pet, son, daughter, dog?
yeah, I would say as a pet owner, being an advocate for you and your pet. Yes, a lot of times we as the veterinary field will give bad news. And I think it's a little different each animal is different, and how they present with whatever disease or diagnosis they've been given. But I would say that there's probably something in most cases that if you're given this bad news of, let's just say the blood disease, to be able to advocate and say, hey, I just got this bad news. I need to process this. What can be done that will allow my pet to be comfortable so I can take them home for maybe a day or two or a little longer to be able to, do a bucket list with them, or have other family members be able to say, their goodbyes. I realize that, if your pet is hit by a car and, it's actively dying is a little different, but I would say with certain things like, kidney disease or some types of cancers, that it doesn't have to be right this second as far as euthanasia goes. Yes, we don't want our pet to struggle or suffer, but is there something that we as the veterinary field can give them, whether it's pain medications or fluids or something, to be able to allow that pet to go home for a time before the euthanasia is done. So being a pet parent advocate for your pet, and for yourself, because it is, like you said, it can be really traumatizing to have this news and you have to make this decision right away when your brain hasn't caught up and your heart obviously hasn't caught up to that information. So that's my piece of advice. But I know when I was in private practice, there was a lot of times that I would give families, that bad news of a diagnosis. And each family is different. Each pet is different. How has the pet been? Is it really suffering? Or, is there something else that can help them have a bit more quality of life and live with that diagnosis so we can process that all together?
Mhm. That's fantastic. Anthony?
Hi. Oh no. So the information that's scrolling on the ticker at the bottom of the screen, that's your site.
Kindred Spirits Pet. Yes.
All right, cool. Yeah, so that's a good way to get a hold of Dr. Barrett, or as David has affectionately renamed her, Dr. Barrett. And
Beret. Let's go with Beret for now on.
now she's French all of a
It
sudden.
sounds fancy.
Now she's
Yes.
French all of a sudden, Dr. Barrett.
I would say too, if I'm, if someone's watching this and they're not in Tucson, I have a lot of information on my website that may be helpful to others. I have quality of life assessments that you can do online. There's lots of information about, kind of making that decision. Also pet loss, because the journey is not over with the euthanasia. There's the family is left to grieve that pet, and that includes our other furry friends that can be as devastated as we are that their friend has passed. So lots of information on the website that people can look at, and just reach out to us if you have questions.
Yeah, actually, that's one of the things I was going to ask you is, when it comes to grieving, what do you think are some of the most healthy things that families can do at that point? Because I didn't have any coaching. My family directly never had pets, so I was like the first pet owner in the family, and
Mm-hmm.
so. At least to my knowledge, for any extended period of time. So losing one hurt, but it made it a little bit easier for the second time when I lost Duke's son, Peyton Pooh, which was very sudden. It had nothing to do with the disease. It's just another big dog broke his jaw. But what
Mm-hmm.
would you recommend for processing that kind of grief and that loss to somebody that maybe have a sudden loss of one of their fur babies?
Mm-hmm. I would say find another family member or a friend that you can talk about it. Everyone's different, so some people like to journal, some people just like to talk, some people like to listen to music, some people like to read about pet loss and grief. So each person is different, but I think the most helpful thing is to talk about it. Don't keep it all inside. So find that person, that maybe that other pet lover that understands. It may not be a close family member, but another friend that maybe has gone through the experience before. I think talking about it is probably definitely the first step. I also recommend, and again, everyone's different, but not just suddenly getting rid of all of the pet's things. Some people, that's what they feel like they need to do, but then you may regret getting rid of something later. So, giving it a little time before, you get rid of that bed, or, their collar or their toys. Making memory tables, or like displaying photos, whether or not you do a burial and have a some sort of ceremony, or if you do get your pet cremated or aquamated, and you get that urn back, you still can do, you still can do a ceremony of some sort. So again, there's lots of different options, and some things work for some people and some don't. But I think one of the biggest things is talking and telling their story.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've had to do that because Peyton passed in December, but I have to show you something because it ties into exactly what you just said. But it's going to take me about 10 seconds. So, Anthony, take it away and I'll be back.
Okay, so I found your Facebook page. Are you on all the socials? It looks like you
Uh,
keep up pretty frequently with your Facebook page, at least monthly at minimum.
yeah, Facebook mostly. Excuse me, it's linked to Instagram.
Right.
And then we also have, excuse me, I have something in my throat. We have Tessa's Tributes, which is a pet memorial site on Facebook that you can post
Tessa,
videos.
TESS.
Yeah, TESS. It's named after my dog Tess that I lost while I was in vet school. So it's a tribute to her. So that's why I called it Tessa's Tributes. But we have lots of people share their stories, things that help them. So maybe it'd be a poem or something like that up there. I get videos that people put together, like montages of their pet. So it's really helpful to be as a community, that people can come together and celebrate the life of that pet.
And on Facebook, you're just under Kindred Spirits Pet Services. So that's great. And also Tessa's Tributes. So for our viewers out there, it's not just the site scrolling on the ticker at the bottom of the screen. You can also find her on Facebook, and you can find Tessa's Tributes on socials as well. What you got, David?
All right. So, with the Jaws music in the background. Da-na, da-na, da-na-na-na-na-na-na. So my mom got me this while Peyton was still alive. This is almost an exact replica of my dachshund. However, and I keep him close, and just when I need a cuddle, I squeeze him. But I also painted this while he was still alive. But this is his last bandana,
Oh,
and
that's
I put
beautiful.
that on him, and it's got his one blue eye on his good side. And because it's just, I think it's a healing thing to have that memory.
Mm-hmm.
um and I did that while he was alive because he'd been through so much, hit by a
Mm-hmm.
car, paralyzed 4 times, like like this dog went through the ringer. It's just like his dad, pretty much. And but he helped me get through everything. So I think it's very important to not only embrace the relationships with your dogs, but with other people, and
Mm-hmm.
to kind of, if you have something to exchange with somebody, a good friend or family, a painting, or a little arts and crafts thing, I think that's important for, long time relationship building and healing as well. And so, with that, I'm out of brain cells. So, if you have anything you want to add to that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think the uh doing art projects or drawings, or I've seen a lot of people, they get, a tattoo of their pet's paw print or things. So again, it can be tailored to you and how you want to remember your pet, and the healing process for you. Yeah, we're never going to get over that loss, but we learn to live in a different relationship with them as time goes on.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And pets they become a part of the family like anybody or anything else, right? And so
Mhm.
it's important that we recognize these things and get not just what we need, but what they need for the end of their life as well.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. And I've had, I've had families that, they give them a Reese's peanut butter cup or chocolate cake or a steak or bacon, at the end, doing those things to really give it, special meaning, music, playing videos of their pet or songs that are special, being at home, and not that you couldn't do it if you went to the vet clinic, but you can make it as kind of a ceremony, and that can also help with after they're gone.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, I have to remember that I forgot, because now that I remember that I forgot, our sponsor for tonight is debspets.com. That's DEBSPETS.com. DEBSPETS.com, where you can find nutritional supplements for pets and for humans. A big fan, by the way, of the Coriolis versicolor mushroom. You can find it in absolute concentrated strength on that website. But I'd also like to have a very special shout out to our sponsor, Emily Gomer, and her efforts on World of Ability podcast on YouTube as well. That's World of Ability podcast. Anthony, any last words before we get out? And you know how to close it out.
You're a smarter human being than I am, because to say I have to remember what I forgot. I've never remembered something I forgot. I mean, how do you remember something you forgot if you forgot what you remembered? I mean, I'm very. You're a smarter person than I'll ever be on that. I mean,
and well, it's because I
can't remember.
I eat Starburst and I sneeze Skittles.
You sneeze Skittles. Yeah, well, I'll leave that. I'll leave that one alone. Well, thank you again, Dr. Barrett, for being with us today, and for joining us on our show, and for putting up with us knuckleheads here as we host this. We have a lot of fun together, if you can't tell. But
it was a real blessing.
It is. As always, to our viewers, we want to thank Dr. Barrett for being with us today. We also want to remind our viewers that you are not alone. As a veteran myself, obviously veteran suicide is near and dear to my heart, but anybody's health and mental health is near and dear to my heart. And we want you to know that you're not alone. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. You have a God that loves you. We love you. And if you need to speak, please reach out to us. We would be more than willing to take a 3 a.m. phone call than to wake up and hear your name on the headlines. So please, please, please reach out to us. Let us do what we can to get you whatever it is you need. And we can't wait to speak to you next week. In a couple of weeks, I'll be in Paducah, Kentucky, with Deb, looking at a nonprofit that her and I have supported for about a year now. And so I don't know if we'll be coming to you live from that nonprofit or what that will be, but we'll make that decision then. But I will be out there in Kentucky. I've never been to Paducah. I've been to Kentucky, but
where is that? What's it near?
In Kentucky.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was near Louisville or
No, I think it's over on the like east side of the state. Because I know we're flying into Nashville and then driving west.
Oh, okay.
It's south of Alaska. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. It's north of Hawaii. I know that much for sure. If you were leaving from Hawaii, you'd have to take a plane or boat. You know,
I would take the train. Train's much safer.
Anyway, all right. Well, we will see you next week then, and thank you all for joining us. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you, Doctor.
Of course. Thanks.